Hello and welcome back to the 27th episode of Marriage on a Tightrope. I'm Allan.
And I'm Katie, and we're keeping our tagline, We are still married.
With a capital M.
Okay, so we went to Facebook and to Instagram to ask our listeners, what do you think about this tagline? The overwhelming response was keep it. And I know a few people have messaged me and said, well, you know, you should really think about getting rid of it because there's this ever-present idea that maybe you wouldn't be married.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, it's just like something that's fun.
It's tongue-in-cheek, it's fun, and we just say it and move on.
Yeah, so we're still married.
We are. We have a few things we would like to talk about today. I think we always have something we want to talk about. I'm excited just to record with you.
I know, it's been quite a while.
I like recording with you.
Yeah.
It's like, it forces us to talk.
I mean, we talk a lot, but it forces us to look in each other's eyes as we do it, not at our phones.
That's right. Maybe a good tip for everybody listening, all you tightropers out there, is to get a microphone and pretend like you're recording a podcast. Because then maybe it'll open up some lines of communication with your spouse.
Oh, gosh.
Pretty bad.
And get about, 10 inches away from each other's faces as you do it.
Right. That's what we have to do.
We have set up a donation button on our website. So if you go to marriageonatightrope.org, you can hit the link right below our picture on the right-hand side. And
it's about halfway down the page.
Halfway down, yeah. And you can donate. As you know, this is all voluntary, and we don't make money doing this. And so your donations are super appreciated and helpful to us. So if you like what we put out and the content that we try to come up with for all of you, it would be awesome if you donated.
I have to say that Radio Free Mormon has smack-talked me, saying that he has started asking for donations, and his listeners are much more willing to donate to him than our listeners are to me. Anyway, whatever. Donate to him. This
yeah,
podcast
whatever.
Is better anyway.
It's fine.
No, thank you for all that support. You know, one thing I wanted to do is Katie and I both kind of have a surprise topic for each other today. Katie let me know a little bit what hers is about, but I don't know exactly where she's going with it. And she said she didn't want to tell me before we get here. So.
And you have one?
I do. I posted on Facebook today. And
wait, in our mixed faith group or on your regular?
My own wall.
Oh, geez.
That always makes Katie nervous.
I hate that. No, I mean, you're just surprising me with it on
It's not
here.
bad.
Okay.
It's not bad. So I just wanted to read it. Anyone that's listening here, I'm totally cool with you following me on just regular Facebook, not just the Marriage on a Tightrope podcast group. You can follow Allan Mount on Facebook as well. That'd be great. So I just want to read this. I just want to read this. You can't read ahead. Don't look at the screen.
I can't even see it because I'm blind.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Here we go. Someone you love... Let me start over. That was stupid. Someone you love no longer believes the same as you. In an effort to understand what they are going through, you sit down to talk with them. How do you handle that conversation? Here are a few scenarios I have had when I found myself sitting across from someone who is trying to understand. Number 1, quote, just tell me your story. I just want to understand what you've been through. They ask a few clarifying questions, but largely they just sit there and they listen. I've had 2 or 3 conversations that fit this scenario. Number 2, after trying not to go into details, I give one example of something I have learned that shifted my belief. And the individual says, the church doesn't teach that. And I say, well, they do. It's on the website. It's on the church website. Here, I'll pull it up. And the individual says, I will not read anything you give me. And then I respond, but it's on the church website. Scenario 3. If I wanted to really understand what you have learned, where would you start? Me. I would start on the church website and read this. I'll do it. I'll let you know what I think. Situation 4. Oh, I already know all about this stuff. Really? How'd you learn about it? Well, I'm pretty sure someone in high school teased me about it. I don't know why it bothers you that much. Well, okay. I just really don't even know how to respond to that. The variety of responses I've gotten in these situations has been extremely interesting. In situation 1, the friend who's just wants to listen is being a great friend. They want to listen to my story. There's no contention. There's no argument. And in one very specific case, I was in the middle of my angriest phase, and I just absolutely dumped on that friend. I thanked that friend over and over for being so patient with me as I word vomited to him for about 2 hours. In situation 2, I suddenly realized that facts just don't matter. It was both a terrifying and liberating experience to have. This loved one was so wrapped up in their beliefs, they wouldn't even look at the official church website. For me, that was a pivotal moment. It taught me that getting into an argument about facts just does not do anyone any good. Situation 3 has only happened to me once. It seems like a natural thing to ask somebody of, hey, what would you read if I wanted to understand? But I understand why it isn't quite so natural. And situation 4 has been pretty common. Oh, I already knew that. I don't know why it's such a problem. Those conversations lack empathy, tend to dead end pretty quickly. But here's the twist ending. I am so grateful to find myself in any of those situations. So I'm not criticizing any of those responses. The fact that this friend or loved one cared enough about me to get into a difficult conversation is amazing. The difficult conversations have helped me learn better ways to communicate and to throw out ineffective ways of approaching this topic. And I want to call out a 5th situation that one of my believing friends actually commented on my post. He said, I think that one thing you're missing, and it's key to keep your posting well-rounded and objective, is number 5. I looked into it and read the material, and I didn't come to the same conclusion. Mm-hmm. For example, my older brother, who left the church, initially tried to engage me with these types of conversations, and I told him that I also did my own research, and I looked into it on my own. I have read the same materials, and I simply didn't come to the same conclusion that he had. So if you want to be the one sane person who is objective and impartial, you have to include that group. Otherwise, you're not being impartial, and you are painting the opposition in a negative light. If you are implying that everyone who disagrees with you is blinded by their faith, and they only want to bury their heads in the sand. And I liked that and responded and said, you're absolutely right. I haven't found myself in that situation, so I couldn't list it, but he's absolutely right. Absolutely right. So that was the email that I wrote today, and the general reason behind writing it was to say these experiences have taught me to how to talk differently and how to engage differently in these types of situations. We've talked about it a few times. I don't go into details anymore. I very much refuse to go into details. And even in the case where someone asks me, what would you read if I could? I point them to a source that they, from their position, can trust. Thoughts? Any thoughts? Just want to move on?
I mean, no thoughts. What was like your motivation behind posting that?
No motivation. It was just on my mind. I just wanted to post it. It was just on my mind. I just was thinking about a recent conversation I had with a friend. It just got me thinking about the different ways that people have responded during those types of conversations. And
now you need to do an addendum and add that last one, because I think that that's true.
Right. Well, that's why I read it here. It's because it is true. That's, again, my response to him was, I haven't been in that situation, but you're absolutely right. So I was glad that he added that.
Yeah.
Yep. Something's not sitting right with you.
No. I just need time to think about and process it. I mean, I guess, like, good for you. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, if that's what you wanted to post and you posted and you were happy with it, then great.
Yeah. A lot of people liked it, and I don't
think there's a lot of discussion around that.
No, I'm not trying to prompt any discussion. Just, you look pensive, so I wanted to see if you were thinking anything.
Just, yeah. Great job.
Sometimes that's what we get when we do unprepared topics.
Yeah, y'all get to hear my true reaction. And whenever I say, interesting, Allan always says, oh, that means you hate it.
That means you're thinking something else you don't want to say.
I know. I mean, interesting goes both ways, but I think interesting is just easy to say because I could feel either way about it.
That's right. So, Katie, after a 13-day vacation in California, with the children, where every single day was mapped out and planned because you are really good at planning vacations. And it's not tiring the way that you plan them. And everyone loves it, especially
Hold
me.
on. We not have a good time?
I'm not being sarcastic. Mm-hmm. We did have a good time.
We did.
And when we get back,
and we
were exhausted.
Yeah.
I had a work trip, and I said, you got to come with me, and it actually worked out. Where did we go?
Yeah, we went to Arizona. It was kind of like we got home on a Monday, and then we had like 5 days, and then it was that general conference weekend, and we left Sunday. We farmed out the kids to all of our friends, which is amazing, and they were all good to take a kid or two, and we went to Arizona for 3 days.
Yeah.
And in our last podcast, we mentioned if you lived in the Mesa area, hey, I'm going to meet some ladies for lunch and come and meet up with me. And that weekend was emotionally draining.
Which week? This was the first weekend of April? What else happens the first weekend of April?
We're going to get to that.
Okay.
Guys, that was a hard weekend. I had my whole Monday mapped out. I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner with listeners. And Allan was working his conference all day, so it worked out really well. But I went to breakfast with awesome lady. And then I invited whoever wanted to show up for lunch in Mesa to come show up. And it was...
There were 48 women and 3 men that showed up, right?
No, there were 5 or 6 of us. There were 6 of us. How brave is that to just show up and meet a bunch of people that you've never met before and talk about the hardest things and the rawest things that we're dealing with, and then walk away hugging and exchanging phone numbers and promising to see each other again. I mean, it just was just so uplifting. And these group, I call them my Mesa Mango mamas.
I've never heard that.
Because we ate at this place called Mangoes.
Oh, fun.
And they were all mamas, and we were Mesa. So Mesa Mango mamas.
Triple M.
For Triple M. Anyway, and I mentioned to a few people that I had done this, and they were like, why aren't you doing this here in Utah, Katie? And I thought, well, I mean, that's maybe down the road. I don't know how much interest any of you would have. In fact, maybe we'll just put a poll or quick thing up on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah,
but I don't know if there's interest in Utah County area and northern Utah and Salt Lake area. I mean, we can do different meetups. So if that's something you'd be interested in, please let me know. But it was really great, especially after a difficult weekend. And then I had dinner with another person. And so I went in just feeling emotionally exhausted, but also so uplifted by the people I met. And the way we were processing things together, it really helped. Okay, guys, here goes. And just bear with me for a sec. My friend and I are starting this Disney Instagram account. I was thinking about all things Disney have been on my brain.
This is just her play to get another season pass.
Is it working?
We're close.
It expires in 2 days, and I'm like, oh, my pass. So I was thinking about Disney, and here's a question, Allan. Okay, when you think of the storyline of Lion King, tell me the story. Give me a 30-second storyline.
You've got a new cub on the loose, and this cub's going to be king, but he makes a few bad decisions. Dad gets dead because of his bad decisions, and he gets freaked out, and he runs away. The whole wasteland situation happens. He makes some friends while he's away from the pride, comes back to try to oust his uncle, and ends up being the king, and the circle of life continues.
Okay. Not 30 seconds. Frozen.
Frozen?
Yeah.
All right. 2 little girls. They're best buds. They play together all the time. One's got some special
They're sisters,
powers.
would you say?
They are biological friends, yes. One of them has some powers, accidentally hurts one of them. She time goes by, the parents die. Dang it, it's the same
Come on.
thing. The parents die. She goes away because she's scared of herself and is trying to protect everyone, causes a big old winter. But then the sister goes to save her, and then they both come back, and love thaws things, and everything gets good again.
Okay, perfect. That is exactly what I wanted you to say.
Nice.
Okay, so
I know where you're going. This is awesome.
in both of these scenarios, what was the underlying one problem? If you had one word to describe it, what would you say?
The one problem?
The one in both stories, there was an underlying. They both had underlying. What I want to say?
They were both afraid.
Afraid. Okay.
One was afraid of her own power.
Okay.
Afraid of hurting people. Uh-huh. And then Simba was ashamed, I guess, and he was afraid of his uncle, but he was ashamed of what he did to his dad.
Even though it wasn't his fault.
Even though it really wasn't his fault.
So I think that the best word for that is fear, right?
Yes, fear.
Fear. And then the plot moves on, and in the end, they both realize it's all about what?
It's all about love and family.
Love and family. Okay.
Especially Frozen, right? We think the whole time that Kristoff, shout out to Jonathan Groff, not that he listens, that Kristoff is going to be the one that thaws Anna when her heart freezes, but it ends up being the siblings, the love of a sister.
Yeah. Okay, so I use those examples because I feel like for Allan and I, conference weekend was the thing that we felt the most was fear. And at first it was fear. I think that in the beginning it was fear. Fear of rejection, fear of disappointing leaders, fear of what's going to happen when we die, fear of not knowing, like, well, are we making the best decisions we can? And that's kind of what ruled our weekend. And it was really hard. I mean, Allan can attest that I probably spent 3 of the days crying because I felt like other people had influenced me to feel so much fear in my heart. And then after meeting with women in Mesa and talking and processing the weekend, what came out of it was like love. No, what we do to cause fear in other people is not right. What other people do to cause fear in us that's not the way. That's not how I believe God or Christ wants us to act. I feel like, no, I'm going to just project and give love and empathy to everyone because that's the best way to motivate people, not fear.
Yeah.
Talk to that a little bit about
fear
and love.
I absolutely agree with you. I feel like that's the Savior's model of how to lead and how to inspire is through love. I think maybe fear was a very Old Testament way of leading, and love is a very New Testament way of leading. There's moments that we had in Arizona where I could tell. I mean, we watched one specific talk together while we were in our hotel room, and so I saw firsthand the difficult time that you had with that. And hearing you talk about fear in those moments was hard for me, and something we've talked about before, but I'll reiterate. In those moments, it's hard for me to remember sometimes, but what I really need to do is just comfort you and support you and hug you and tell you it's going to be okay and I love you, because it doesn't help to dogpile. Right? It doesn't help for me to say, haha, see, I told you. None of that is helpful. Instead, I just need to wrap my arms around you and say, I know, I feel the same way. I'm sorry. This is going to be okay. And show you that love that you are so desperately needing in that moment. And I felt it at the same time back from you. So it's, it was a hard weekend from Friday to Sunday. And then we had a couple of days in the Mesa area to kind of recuperate. And I'm glad that we did.
Yeah. Oh, I'm super emotional right now. I had my first really bad experience with, like, someone telling us, someone that I, like, really, like, looked up to and who I respected. And it's been the first time that someone has, like, said something that was so hurtful. And, like, I'll give you the gist. The gist was that our podcast is actively leading people out of the church. And that was the exact words. It wasn't the gist. It was the exact words that this person said. And that we're really charismatic, but that makes people think that what we're doing is okay. Anyway, I was super upset, and I had to process it with a friend because I just was beside myself. And at first I felt like we had caused, like I felt like I had disappointed. I was a bad person. I was on the wrong way. And anyway, it just hurt so bad. And then once I processed through it, I could look at it, the entire situation. I could say, like, look, I still respect this person and love them, but I don't agree with them. And it took me, like, all weekend to figure that out. And then you combine that with some of the messages that we heard, and it just was really upsetting to me. So we didn't really want to get into a whole lot of details because there are plenty of podcasts out there that go into great detail about some of these things. And that's not our purpose. Our purpose isn't ever to talk about these issues on this podcast. Our purpose is to talk about how we're working through them as a couple. And, after feeling so much fear all weekend, being with others, processing, talking to them about their own experiences, really helped me realize that staying quiet about these hard things we're dealing with that's Satan's plan. And whatever, if you don't believe in Satan or whatever you want to call it, but it's never okay to make someone fearful of what might happen to them because you don't want them to say anything. And I felt like after that experience, I felt like I was quieted, and I had to think again, like, oh my gosh, should we keep doing this podcast? Are we going to get in trouble? Because this has been, like, a really hard weekend. And then with Cody and Leah Young being excommunicated, it was just like Allan and I had a really hard conversation about this, because as hard as, like, I'm trying to stay it, I just feel like it would be, like, devastating to me if I got excommunicated for having a podcast and talking about our marriage and figuring out ways to help other people. And anyway, I'm just going to spend the whole time crying this episode, I guess. Okay, your turn.
You're brave. I love you.
I love you.
Kattie's right. We had a difficult conversation, a very open conversation that went a little something like this. What Kattie just said, I would hate to get in trouble for doing something. I know we're not doing anything wrong. We're just trying to help marriages. Cody and Leah Young didn't do anything wrong. They were just trying to create a support group. And that doesn't mean it would not be devastating to face discipline for something like this. I honestly don't, neither of us think that is going to happen, but we certainly want to avoid it. if possible. It's not a situation we would like to be in. I'd love to point at something very positive from conference, if I can.
Sure.
The very first talk on Saturday morning was Elder Suarez.
Yeah.
And this is one thing, just a portion of what he said. He said, "It is hard to understand all the reasons why some people take another path. The best we can do in these circumstances is just to love and embrace them, pray for their well-being, and seek the Lord's help to know what to do and say. Sincerely," that's the key word, "sincerely rejoice with them in their successes. Be their friends and look for the good in them. We should never give up on them, but preserve our relationships. Never reject them or misjudge them. Just love them." That's a great message.
Yeah.
Right. I was very glad to hear him say that. I was very glad to hear him say that. I know it can be difficult for those that are in my position, but when there are good messages, recognize them, cling to them, use them with your spouse to give them the support they need. It's a difficult thing to do, but there are good things. I was talking to somebody today on the phone who I don't know from the podcast. I know from my real life, but this person knows where I'm at because I'm all over the world talking about it, all over the internet. And he said to me, like, in explaining his situation, I love the church. I love going, and I love the community, and I love this, but man, there's some parts that are so hard, and this is one of them, and this is one of them. And I stopped him. I just said, wouldn't it just be so much easier if it was all good or all awful? It would make this so much easier if everything was great. Then great. I have no problems. If everything was awful, I'm out of here. But it's not that clear cut. When we see the good, like Elder Suarez's message just then, let's use it to help our spouses. I think that's important.
Yeah, and I'm sure all of you are processing, like, whether you listened or not. I told a friend, she was out of town, and we were talking about this, and I told her, like, don't listen. And she did. And it was hard, and they had to process through it. I think that above all, like, deep down, each one of us knows how we feel when we hear stuff like this. And I think that you just have to agree to disagree if you have to. If you feel differently, that's okay. Allow yourself to feel differently. You believing spouses that listened and you felt fear or you felt badly about yourself because of things that were said, it is okay to say, I don't agree with that. Please allow yourself that space, because we don't always have to be like 100% on. I believe, I'm fully in. I have to prove to everyone that where I'm at, because it just doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way. Things are messy. It's not black and white. There's so much gray. And I think if you go back, and I've had time to really think about it, if you go back and you look like the body and context of some of these things, I mean, you can see where they're coming from, but the delivery is something you just can't agree with. And it's something that I don't agree with. It's the delivery. It's okay to admit that to yourself and your spouse. Now you know better. Now you know that when you feel in fear of something, that's not the right feeling you should have. That you should always feel like love and empathy coming to you, and that's the same thing that you're putting out to your spouse and those around you.
This has been Marriage on a Tightrope. It's been a good episode, a surprisingly emotional episode. Thank you, Katie, for being
You didn't
so
even cry.
vulnerable. I teared up, but I let you talk through all the difficult moments.
Yeah.
Follow us on Facebook, Marriage on a Tightrope podcast group. I'm going to post there about an idea of doing solo episodes. So you can go there and see what I mean by that. Me doing an episode just for those, and in my position, Katie doing an episode just for those in her position, and vice versa. Me doing an episode just for the believing position. Just trying to flesh that idea out. We could use your help on that. So join us on Facebook. And then you can email us at marriageonatightrope@gmail.com. Katie?
You can go to our Instagram feed, and it's Marriage on a Tightrope, and you can message us there. We're pretty responsive. It's easier than email sometimes. So,
and Cameron is my brother. Katie and I are recording our Marriage on a Tightrope podcast. We're just about to sign off. Anything you want to say to the listeners of Marriage on a Tightrope?
Just that everything you guys say is literally words.
Oh my gosh. I miss you, and we used to do podcasts together all the time.
I'm not gonna lie. I do feel legitimate jealousy, as I call in your recording with another human being who's not me. But it's great.
Oh, it's so good. All right, listeners, Tightropers, I think we're trying to get that to catch on.
Tightropers.
I'm committing now to, not to Katie. I've already done that because we're recording right now. I'm committing now to you, Cameron, and to our other podcast hosts of our other podcast. We will record soon, and I'll link it so that the Marriage on the Tightrope people can see it, even though they probably won't care.
Wow. And then, maybe someday there will be, some boom ropers.
Some boom ropers. The name of our other podcast is called The Boom Show. Oh, that's great. You're awesome. So Marriage on a Tightrope, folks. This has been Allan and Katie and my brother Cameron, and we'll see you next time.